Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.
Hey you guys, what's going on? Sarah Hall here from The Wealthy Optimist. I'm super excited to have this story time with you guys. I'm going on a huge trip. It's my first time ever going to Asia. For me, it's a really big deal. I'm super excited about it. I had a lot of challenges leading up to this event, leading up to this huge, trip. And I wanted to share with you some of my kind of mistakes that I made in regards to my passport, so that you can learn from these mistakes and not have these kind of things happen to you. And then also some tips about getting what's called a temporary passport, so that you can learn how easy it is in Canada to get a temporary passport when you have a crazy situation happen like I did for myself. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm going to Cambodia. I'm going to Cambodia because my sister, she passed away on July 21st in 2016, which is coming up on 2 years now. And her name was Tamara, and I miss her so much. When I was, last summer, after she had been passed away for about a year, I went on a self-development and personal growth trip with my health and wellness company. And we went to Las Vegas, and it was a huge convention. There were 20,000 people there. It was absolutely amazing. But I was sharing a room with a friend of mine who is actually a Christian, and she was really happy to kind of talk to me about things. I was super curious. I've always been a really spiritual person, but never so much really following the Bible and believing in God and stuff like that. And when we were on this trip, something really miraculous happened, and it was a huge testimony to me about how powerful God is, able to show you and really reveal himself to you. And so it really was the first kind of step in me becoming a Christian myself. And what happened was, on my sister's birthday, which is August 6th, the day we got there was August 4th. We were there for my little sister's birthday, which is August 5th. And then my older sister's birthday is August 6th. And that morning was the morning that Tony Robbins was doing his huge training session. Everybody was excited. I had been up talking with my friend all night, and when I went in the morning, we got seats really close. We had amazing seats. It was great. And I told my friend I was gonna go and get a coffee, and I had been already feeling a lot of emotions that day. It was my sister's birthday. I had a lot of stuff going on emotionally, and to be honest with you guys, I was really broken at this point. I've had a lot of stuff happen in my life that's really hard and stressful to even talk about, but having my sister die just was like, the straw that broke the camel's back. So although I was going to these personal development things and really trying to grow as an individual, it was weighing very heavy on me, losing my sister, and I really had a lot of grief in my heart at that time, and I still do, as you can see by the tears. But I told my friend I was gonna go get a coffee for us, and I went by myself because I needed a little bit of me time. And I went to go get the coffee, and there was two different lines. There was one where you order the drinks with the barista, and another one where you go and you pay for it and pick up the coffees. And so I placed my order. It was a very specific order because I like my coffee very specifically. And so she goes, okay, great. What's your name for the cup? And I said, Sarah. And I'm a very extroverted, happy person. I said my name very clearly, and I love my name. And so she wrote it down, and she took the order, and then she was like, go to the front and pay. So I went to the front, and I was waiting. There was another person in front of me, a guy, and I finally went up to pay for it, and they go, okay, thanks, here's your, whatever the coffee order was at that time, and here's your coffee cups. And she handed me a coffee cup that actually said Tamara on it, and both of the cups said Tamara on it, and the receipt said Tamara on it. And at that moment, I was really hit by this huge wave of love and emotion. I really felt like God was telling me that my sister was okay, and that he was there for me. And I was really overcome with emotion at that point. And I walked away. I just started like crying, like tears of like relief, having this kind of weight lifted off my shoulders, knowing that she was like, it was like a communication, like a really big sign from God that my sister was there and she was okay. And it was like she was like asking him to let me know, like an angel was the person writing that down. It was just it's hard to even put into words, but it was really surreal. And stuff like that, ever since that day, has been happening to me a lot. And I went back and I told my friend about it. I made a live video on my Facebook. That video got like 30,000 views in like 2 days. It just went like wildfire. It reached a lot of people. And that story was really surreal. A lot of people really loved hearing that story about having that love reach me. And so after that day, I spent the night talking to my friend again. Although we were in Vegas, my friend, she actually she's an alcoholic and addict, so she doesn't drink or do drugs or anything like that. And so while I was there too, I decided not to drink so I could actually hang out with her. And so we actually spent the night. We had a lot of fun. We talked a lot. I had a lot more questions about how Christianity was, helping her through her problems and her past life as well. And I decided when I got back from this event that I wanted to go to church. And I actually Googled a church that was near my house, and it's called 10th. And the very first weekend I got back from this event, I went to church that Sunday. And while I was sitting there, I just felt this like peace, this loving like peace come over me. Like I was in the right place. I was finally like channeling something that was really good, and I felt like it was a really good place, and I felt comforted. I felt like at home. And when the pastor started talking, his name is Ken, he was talking about grief, and I would just remember thinking of all the places I could have gone today, of all the churches, of all the things that I needed to hear in my brokenness. He is talking about exactly what I needed to hear about, and I could not even stop the tears from coming down. It was a very surreal moment. And this lady, I remember, she was really nice. She was in the pews ahead of me, and I was there by myself. She turned around, she gave me a hug, and she was like, "Don't worry, it happens to me all the time." And after his sermon, they did an announcement, and they announced that they were going to Cambodia. And my older sister went to Asia, and she loved it there. She had such an amazing time. She fell in love with the people. She went to Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Korea, Vietnam. She went all over the place, and she loved it. She also had some bad experiences there too, but she really loved the culture and the people, and she talked about it all the time. And I was sitting there, and I remember thinking, like, God is literally saying, "Here, Sarah, come to Cambodia, and you can like learn so much about yourself and about me and about what I'm doing in the world." And I literally did not leave that church that day until I figured out who was in charge of this trip, how I could get an application, and how I could apply to go. And that was in August last year. It's now May of 2018, and I have been waiting to go on this trip for almost a year, and I'm really, really excited. So I'm going to Cambodia, and I leave in about 4.5 hours, which is really exciting. But now let me talk to you a bit about what happened with my passport. So I have a couple of big things that are happening in my life this year. I actually applied for a UK visa, and with this UK visa, I had this sudden calling. It's like everything kind of happens for a reason, I suppose, but I had this sudden calling in April of this year that I needed to apply for the visa right now, and I just was pushed to do it. And I went and I applied for it, and I was able to get a biometrics appointment the very next day. Like, it was really, everything was just aligned to happen. And so when I got to the biometrics appointment, they were like, "Okay, so we're gonna keep your passport." And I was like, no, I'm going on a trip to Cambodia, and I need my passport by May 11th. And she goes, "Oh, don't worry. You can pay priority service. It's an extra $360 though, and you'll have your passport back next week." I was like, "Okay, sounds like a good idea to me." So I paid an extra almost $400 Canadian and handed over my passport. And that was 3 weeks ago. And today is the day I'm leaving for the trip. And I waited, I called these people every day. They did not give me my passport back. I still don't have my passport back. And I was just waiting and waiting and waiting and really stressing out. I actually sometimes have anxiety, which can get pretty bad. So I was really worried. I was really stressed. And I ended up turning to God and handing my problems up to God and really praying over the last few days and having like this peaceful feeling come over me. And this this next part is a real testimony to the power that God has to help us in our lives for what he is calling us to do. And he was calling me to go to Cambodia, but 2 days ago I was without a passport. There was no way, until a few hours ago, I was without a passport. There was no way that I was gonna get my passport back from the UK consulate. And I was really, really worried. And when I decided to just, you know, pray on it, meditate, I listened to worship music. I just kind of like decided to just not worry about it because I couldn't control it. I was completely out of my control. And yesterday I ended up calling one of the ladies that's going on the mission with me and saying, hey, I really need to talk to you. I am having some really big challenges leading up to this trip, and she met up with me. We had a coffee, we made a bit of a plan that she didn't even seem like that stressed out about it, which was a little bit unnerving for me because I was like, listen, I'm not gonna be able to come. I don't have a passport. And so there's a thing called a temporary passport that you can apply for in urgent situations. And I ended up this morning, I couldn't sleep. I woke up at exactly 5:55. 5 is one of my lucky numbers. And 11:11 is another one of my like signs that I ask for. When I feel like I'm doing I want to know if I'm doing the right thing or if I'm on the right path, I'll ask for the sign 11:11. And so this morning I woke up and I went to the passport office, and I had a really nice lady who was like, oh yeah, if you get all of these things together and you fill out this, I can't guarantee it, but there's a possibility that you'll be able to get a temporary passport. And I was like, really? So I will be able to catch my flight tonight? And she's like, it's possible. And I was like, okay. So I ran home, got my boyfriend who was going to be my guarantor for the passport, called my friends who were able to not be at work and were able to answer the phone when the passport people called them to check who I was saying I was. I got all my material together. I ran back to the passport office, handed it all over, and when I was done applying for everything, I was like, all right, well, it's, you know, it's up to God now. If he wants me to go, then this will happen. And I picked up my phone as I turned to walk out of the passport office, and it was 11:11. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I went home and I had a few hours to wait. And my boyfriend, when we went back to go to the passport office, he was like, hey, can you go check the mail? And I'm gonna go take the garbage out. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I went to go check the mail, and this is on the way to go pick up my passport. And there wasn't any mail for him, but there was a package that the FedEx guy had stuck a sticky note on the wall, and it was for apartment number 1111. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And so then I walked back and I met him and I told him about that, and he was like, oh, cool. And so then I went and stood in line, I waited for my passport. I didn't have any worry. I was feeling very, very peaceful. And when I got to the front, he was like, oh yeah, here's your passport, and just handed me my passport. So I was like, oh wow, you guys really did that really fast. And he's like, yeah. And I looked, I'm gonna try to cover up as much of this as I can. But I looked, and how am I gonna do this so you guys can see this? He handed me my passport and I looked at it, and on my passport, the day that this is the best I can do. Look at the day that it was issued and the day it expired. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's 11/11. And when he handed it to me, he's like, can you check your name and make sure it's right and everything? And I was like, sure. And all I can see though is 11/11. And I was like, wow, it's supernatural. And supernatural things like that, they happen because God, he reveals himself to you when you ask him to. And if you want him to be there in your life and to basically take care of the problems that you have, all you have to do is ask. And this was really a huge testament of what faith can do, and having a little bit of faith, or a lot of faith in my case, because it's literally a few hours before I have to go. And literally I picked up my passport at about 3 o'clock. So my flight is actually, I have to meet at the airport at 10 p.m. So that's 7 hours until my flight, and I didn't have a passport. But now I have a passport. And the other thing is that last night when I was lying in bed and I was sleeping, I had this song playing in my head over and over and over again, and it's the song what's it called? It's by Hillsong, and it's How Beautiful His Name Is. I can't remember if that's how the name of the song, but you guys will know the song. And what a beautiful name it is. That's what the song is. And I had that song playing in my head all night long, and it was like, it wasn't even me singing it. It's hard to explain. It was like angels were with me, telling me that it was gonna be okay and just to be peaceful. And that might sound crazy, but I think that it's true. And when I woke up this morning, I wasn't panicked anymore, and I wasn't worried, and I was like, it's just all gonna work out. And it did. And here's my passport, and I'm getting ready to go, and it's really awesome. I'm super excited. It's incredible. I'm gonna learn so much about myself on this trip. They always say we've been training for like 6 months for going on this trip. They say a lot of the time that we are going there to learn, not to teach. And I think in my case, that's really so true, because I have so much to learn about myself and my faith and the people that I'm gonna meet and what they're gonna bring out in me. And another crazy thing is too, my sister who passed away, she had a drug addiction, and when we were at one of the trainings for this trip, one of the guys who built a school in Cambodia, his name is Craig, and when he came to actually talk to everybody and talk to us about the mission trip. And we're going there, and I'm gonna see him again when I get there. But he actually used to be an addict, and he came to Christ, and he changed his entire life, and he ended up moving to Cambodia, and he's been living there for a long time now, for like 10 years, and really helping and doing a lot of good work there. And when he started sharing his story with me afterwards, I took him aside for a second. I was like, hey, like my older sister was an addict, and he was like, you know, when we get on the ground in Cambodia, I want to talk to you, because I think that me being able to share some of the stuff that I was going through in my addiction, and what I was thinking and the thoughts that I had and things like that, is really going to help heal you from the questions that you have that haven't been answered from what your sister went through. And it's things like that, like God puts people in front of you to help you and to teach you and to help heal you, and all you have to do is ask. And sometimes might even not be something that I would have asked for. And I'm really, really thankful, and I'm really grateful, and I'm really excited for this trip. So thank you so much for watching this story time, emotional story time. Don't forget to check out my other videos. There's going to be a lot of footage coming up over this trip, and then a lot more footage coming up over the year that I will be traveling. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this, and make sure you hit that little bell notification so that you can see when a new video is posted. I love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and safe travels.